I'd like to welcome everyone today. John, as I said, John will be trying to get in. Okay, welcome to Melissa. Unfortunately, her mic's not working at the moment, so Melissa is joining us also. Firstly, I'd like to start with just a bit of a rundown about our upcoming forum that we're planning for October. The program's still in development, but we have got a few things locked in. So I just wanted to just give you a brief overview of what we sort of planned, and hopefully it'll spark some interest. And when we put out the registration form, that we'll get quite a bit of interest. So we've chosen to go with a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday this year. Again, just starting with the welcome drinks on the Wednesday night. So from about 5 o'clock, we're just going to meet and greet so we can meet new people and refresh acquaintances of people that we met last year or that we've met throughout our record keeping experiences. On the Thursday, we've managed to be able to get a MAGIQ software business consultant to come up. So her name's Paula Burke. She's going to be doing a 2-hour session with us where she's going to go through, again, just refresh the 8.6 and then have a question and answer time. So if you're having any issues that you want to directly ask of a consultant from MAGIQ Documents, that'll be your opportunity. On the afternoon of the Thursday, we're looking to do a site visit at the Iron Mountain facilities in Townsville. They're a company that do, appraisal of records and store your records. So they're an off-site storage facility, and we're just going to go through their facilities. Liz and I went there a few years ago, and it was really quite interesting. So I thought there might be others out there that might like to go and have a look at how it all runs and how everything's, what our records are stored. On the Friday, we're hoping for a few presentations from various people. And we've also got Catherine Taylor, again, from the Office of the Information Commissioner, coming up to do a half-hour presentation for us regarding 10 years on a decade of right to information and information privacy in Queensland. And to end off the morning on the Friday, John and I are proposing to do a little bit of a workshop with everyone, doing the QSA self-assessment workshop, just going through their templates and just sitting down, nutting out how we're going to do it, and just giving each other ideas of how we're going to implement and carry out our self-assessment with the self-assessment tool. Again, we're planning to just finish around lunchtime.
Anonymous is now joining.
Yeah, so there's a little bit more nutting out to do. We're going to try and put in a few more presentations. We're also hoping to have a fair bit of time that we allocate to just talking amongst ourselves and nutting out what problems we're having, or just really networking and getting a lot of value out of actually being in the room with other record keepers. If anyone's got any suggestions of anything that they would like to be held at the forum, by all means, just send those through and we can investigate as to whether we can fit that in, or whether we think it'll be of great benefit to everyone. So any suggestions will be welcome. And hopefully, I haven't spoke to John about a timeline yet, but hopefully in the next week, he's on holidays at the moment. So once he's back at work and we get a chance to actually finally lock some things in, I'll get the program out to everyone with registration forms. Time's getting away from us. So that's about all I wanted to say about the forum. Is there anyone that's got any questions that I might be able to answer in the interim? No? Tiana, yours is the only video I can see, so I'm looking for your reactions. Okay. Okay, moving on to another discussion. Kirsty, are you there?
Yes.
Yep. Did you want to lead us into a discussion about your QA processes that you're inquiring about that you'd like us to talk about?
Yeah, thank you. So we started formally QAing, I guess, registry in MAGIQ, so looking at scan quality, metadata quality, those sorts of things, probably 18 months ago, I think. So we developed a bit of a two-page guideline on how frequently we were going to do it, what kind of percentage we were going to look at, what were the things we were looking for. And we had a little bit of an error spreadsheet that we filled out that helped to identify what were our most common errors we were coming across and who were we seeing those issues with. So two things it helped to do was help to identify what we needed to spend time on with training, but also who we needed to spend time with out in the organisation a little bit more. So the idea was to be a bit more compliant and actually be showing that we're doing some quality control, but also to have much more targeted training. But what we find is that it's exceptionally time consuming, and we are only checking 20% of what we register, or what is registered across the organisation, I should say. So I was just wondering if any of the other councils were had any kind of formal audit program in place, and whether they'd be willing to share what that might look like.
Is there any councils out there that can help, Christy?
We don't have one at Belushi Council.
We don't have one at Barcall, but I'd be interested to see what the process might be. If anyone had something there.
I'm willing to share what we've got so far with anyone who's interested. So.
Debbie here from Hierarchy. Can you hear me?
Yep, Deb.
Yep. Hello. Yep, I've had to dial in via the phone. We don't have one, but I'd love to see what others have as well.
Sounds like we've got another little project to work on, Kirsty.
That's okay. I kind of suspected that a lot of sites wouldn't be having that kind of process in place because, like I said, it's really time consuming, and when we're resource poor and time poor, it's one of the first things to go because you've got to get the stuff into the system so that people can action it. No good having really good, pretty records if no one's actually doing anything with them. So, but it is very time consuming, and we'd like to find I'm sure there's got to be a more efficient way of doing it.
No, that sounds like we can maybe progress that a little bit further and work on that. And even if we can't get everyone in on it, we can just get a little focus group working to do that and come up with something and then share it with everybody. So instead of everyone inventing the wheel, we can do it as a collective group.
Yeah.
Does the State Archive on their website have anything along those lines?
I don't think so. I know when we put ours together, when it came to what percentage will we check, we went with, I actually spoke to a lady who used to work for council who was our quality assurance officer, and she also did some document control. And she gave me some advice based on what the standard is out there, that generally speaking, a well-accepted percentage or well-represented percentage is usually around the 20%, and that's usually seen to be well reflective of everything you've got in there. And that she gave us some other tips about not checking the same people all the time and not looking for all the same things. And then the feedback spreadsheets that we keep with all the error tallies, that actually came from our customer contact section, who were using it to assess how they were going and responding to customer requests. So it works well what you get out of it.
Yeah.
But the time it takes to do it, we just don't have the luxury of that time.
Mm.
So.
Are the staff learning, when you go back to the staff, are they learning and improving the way that they do things?
Some yes, some no. It would be really helpful if our staff would actually consistently do registry, but at the moment they have too many escape routes and just don't worry about doing it. So, or they use the feedback as an excuse, oh, well, I can't do it, it's too hard, I'm not going to do it at all. So,
is your management team supportive if you ended up going down the line of, when you do performance appraisals, I would love to have it that a report, annual report or something goes to say, yay, you're a good staff member, or actually you need some training because it shows that you're not improving? Would you ever go down that path?
I would like to.
Horrible.
Yeah, I would like to. Unfortunately, at the present, we don't have, generally speaking, we don't have a management team that is supportive of individual record-keeping responsibilities and self-registration. They still see it as a record job. And because we don't have that, we can't enforce it across the whole organisation. I know we've had this conversation before about self-registration, but
It's like a merry-go-round, isn't it? It's sort of, you want to improve, and by the time you get round the circle, you haven't got anywhere.
I think it's a worldwide issue.
Definitely.
So, and unfortunately, our organisation has grown beyond the point of a centralised record-keeping unit. It's too much to manage. We know that in our emails alone, and this isn't the emails that come through our central email account, this is just what people receive and send directly. The last I looked in there, we had something like 3,000 outstanding to be registered. Thankfully, we have an email archive that if people are looking for something, we can find things.
Yeah.
But that's not the way it should be. So anyway, well, I'd be more than happy to work with, if we were able to put a little group together and work on developing some kind of an audit process. That would be wonderful.
Yeah.
I would love to be included.
Yeah, okay, then we'll just, we'll put that on the to-do list, and we'll get back. I'll talk to you a little bit more, Christy, just to see, how we get it started.
Okay, awesome. Thanks, Janine.
No worries. I was also just going to ask how was everyone's responses to QSA regarding the request for the list of documents over 25 years. Here at Cloncurry, I did a quick visual of volumes of the minutes books that we've got sitting in records. But as I said, we've got something like probably 500 boxes of documents that may not be, are yet to be still gone through. So are a lot of other councils. I know, Gympie, you've done yours. So how was your response? Was it easy to give them a response to that?
Not really, no.
Yep.
Well, in a way it was, in that because we did our big archival project and most of what we had in legacy records are now off-site with Grace, and we have them all listed, at least to a certain degree. So that made reviewing the physical records reasonably easy. It was more in actual fact, the digital records, because we haven't sentenced a lot of our records that pre about 2007, I think it was about July 2007, we started to use retention and disposal schedules.
Yep.
So anything before that pretty much isn't sentenced. And it's just kind of one of those things that sits in the too hard basket to come to. So essentially what I did was I identified what types of files would be permanent, and I did a bit of a review of those files that had been sentenced, and I could quite easily see date ranges, and I extrapolated that across what else we have. So my feedback to QSA was, here's some figures and some estimates, and I said it has to be noted that these are estimates. They don't include our shared network drive, anything on a shared network drive, and they obviously don't include anything that people are hoarding at their desk. No, it really wasn't a best guess estimate. So.
Thanks, Kirsty. Anyone else like to comment?
Yeah,
Ours was pretty good at Bulu. We've had archivists out twice in the previous 5 years, and has gone through all that. So most of ours was marked, but we have had, and we've only been digital since 2002. So there was nothing in there, and it was only hard copies. So we didn't have a real lot at all. And going before that, like old, we've had 2 fires. So a lot of our old records are gone anyway. So.
Yeah, the word fire covers a lot, doesn't it?
Yes.
Okay, anybody else want to comment, or?
Can I ask what was the original question? I haven't seen the agenda. Here from New Zealand.
I think I've got it. I didn't. QSA sent out a letter wanting to know what, does anyone have that letter handy or not? So instead of me just blubbering along.
They wanted to know.
That's okay.
They wanted to know what permanent records we had on site that were more than 25 years old.
Yeah.
And what was the reasoning? Just so they had a register?
Forward planning, I would suspect, for their storage.
Here in New Zealand, local government have to look after our own, and central government, like the hospitals and schools, they are allowed to send it to Archive New Zealand. So us as local government have to have our own budget. So I'm jealous.
Wow. Well, QSA here are pretty picky about what they'll take now too, because I think when they built their facility, they didn't realise just how much was out there, and it's pretty close to full, is my understanding anyway. So.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, that's the impression that I got too, because it said, the quantity and what type of records, and I thought they'll have a look and see what they think they need and probably leave us with most of them anyway.
Yeah.
I think they might have got a surprise at what was out there, or they may have not had an idea, but yeah, now what do they do? It will be interesting to watch this space.
Yes.
Okay, moving along is we might just go around round everyone and see if there's any issues that anyone would like to discuss. Aaron, have you got anything that you'd like to talk about? I think Aaron's just left his desk. Are you there, Aaron?
Sorry. Yeah, I was just moving offices.
Do you want me to get someone else?
No, that's all right.
Okay.
I sent out an email. A couple of weeks ago because part of that 25-year document thing one of our officers has a whole heap of records, a whole container load, and while it had been registered in the in like an Excel spreadsheet, it hadn't actually, the physical records didn't match what was in the Excel sheet, and it was all registered with a QDAN number from 2004. So none of the, of course, the retention schedules have like updated since then, and it didn't have clear dates of when we should dispose of them. And it turns out 30% of the records that were in that registry were still physically there. So I had 70% of the records were unaccounted for. So to get to that 25-year list, I went through and didn't physically check every file, but went through, found the boxes and ascertained like what was still there, sort of thing. And then there was still 3,000 or 5,000 individual listings in this Excel sheet. So what I did was I got the old retention schedule and matched that with the how long the retention should be, and then got a new retention schedule and matched up the new dates, and then put a sort of calculation in Excel and just ran it down the page, and automatically figured out when the retention was up for all those documents. So yeah, I sent out an email because I didn't want to have to do the hard work of literally matching up each schedule to the newer one. But I did that. It took a while, but we got there. And but I didn't have to physically go through a registry of 5,000 documents and figure it out for each one. I just used a calculation for that, so that made it real easy. Then I cleared out. I've thrown out 70 archive boxes just out of that one container, because there was stuff like timesheets from 1988 that was still kept, and yeah. So that was my big project over the last 3 weeks. Spent a lot of time in a shipping container in the sun.
Yeah, we've got one of them too, if you'd like to do it again.
Oh, I'll be right. But the majority of it's done now, so that's
right.
That's really good. And it was really spurred on by that 25-year thing that QSA wanted. So it turned out to be a good thing for me to finally get down there and check out what they had.
That's great.
Yeah. So
anything
that's
else?
My story.
That's your story. And that's a good story. Well done.
I did have a question. My next project is updating our general disposal thing. Was updated in 2016, but in MAGIQ documents we're still using the older schedule. I just want to know, what is the best practice and easiest way to do that through MAGIQ? Do you update all the retention times with the new schedule, and is there a way to do that automatically, or do you have to go through each individual retention time and physically change that for the couple of hundred? What's the best way?
Have to go through it and physically update it yourself. That's what I'm just doing. They did send through, there was a document with the, I might have it there, with the ones that had changed. They had the full retention schedule, and then the little booklet with what ones had been changed. So you just have to go through your retention, and when you change it, it says, there's a little tick box that says, update documents that have the other retention, and it says yes, and it just rolls them into that, onto the documents that are always
that was another question, is those old documents, if they have to stay around for longer, do you change that? Because currently in our physical records, something that might be thrown away in 4 years, in 2023, for example, under the new schedule might have a 7-year lifespan. but I'm not going to change that in the physical records. Not going to chase up every document for a disposal in 2023 and re-bookmark it for a 2027 disposal. Do old documents stay under the old schedule and then moving forward, new schedule, or it all just covers the whole thing?
The new schedule has to cover your old documents too. The old schedule is nil and void, or it's overwritten. So technically, you should be redoing your physical ones as well.
Mm. Yeah. So if you haven't disposed of them, you have to. Yeah.
That's really disappointing news.
You shouldn't have
Baby
asked.
steps. Do MAGIQ first, and then you just got boxes in the background.
Yep. Okay. No, that's all my questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Aaron. Jackie and Tiffany, do you have anything that you'd like to talk about?
We don't have any issues or anything, but I just, since our last meeting, has anyone else upgraded to the MAGIQ 8.6?
Not yet.
No?
Lucky you.
We did in Bark Alden. We upgraded Bark Alden, and the actual upgrade took the amount of time that they said it would, but we had or we still have lingering issues after it. They did something with our search function, which made it so we couldn't actually search for anything unless it was just the title of a document. So you couldn't search by metadata or anything like that. And it took them about 2.5 weeks to fix that up. And we have another issue in our easy forms where you can't press enter. That's a small issue.
Oh,
you can't put a line break in our easy forms. It just won't accept.
And I think we only have a couple of, they've fixed up most of ours, but the other one is single sign-on. So when you activate single sign-on, your Workbench and Navigator in Windows don't work, and because we are uploading all our documents with those, because we use the delete from source file function, and they don't have that in the app version, so we don't have the single sign-on, which is annoying people. And they are working on it, it's just taking a little while, and we're slowly working out all the kinks.
Yeah. We, at Gympie, we have a test environment. We paid additional money a couple of years ago to have them create a test environment and copy everything across from our live environment so that we could make sure that MAGIQ was going to work, but especially our integrations with other applications. And pretty much, thank God we did have that because we only, I think, beginning of this week or the end of last week, they upgraded our test environment to 8.6, and there was so much not working. Our in-trays wouldn't work. I'm not sure about the searching. We told them we didn't want single sign-on because there's the issue where it doesn't let you use any group users. Single sign. But it looked like that they did give us single sign-on, and there was, our sysadmin was telling me the other day all the things she's had trouble with, and she's still trying to get things working in it now. So we're just so grateful that we had that test environment.
It has taken a long time to work out most of our kinks too. Just there were little thing after little thing you realise, but I think we're pretty right now.
One of the delays for us in getting MAGIQ to respond to the issues we were having was that they'd also upgraded a live site, so obviously that live site got priority over us who had only upgraded a test environment. So
good. That's cool. Yeah.
okay. Lisa, do you have anything you'd like to share?
No, nothing here. Business as usual.
Oh, that's good. I hope you're getting some helpful information from others.
Yes, thank you.
Hannah, have you got anything?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
I was just wondering if, the level of access that councillors have to everyone's EDRMS.
Yeah, sorry, I missed a few of those words that you said.
Sorry, I was just wondering what level of access councillors and the mayor has to everybody's like MAGIQ documents.
At Cloncurry, they don't have access to it at all.
Same at Richmond.
They don't here at Bulloo Shire either. We did create a councillors library, but our councillors aren't, I guess, active enough to use it. It's not something they need.
Yeah. There's no access at Gympie for them.
Here in New Zealand, we are about to have new elections and they want access. They've asked, but I don't think we're going to give it to them. We rely on the councillors telling the staff, and those staff will need to save it.
Yep.
Fantastic. Thank you very much.
Melissa, have you, oh yeah, you're on the phone. Have you got anything you'd like to contribute? Can you hear Melissa? Okay, we might come back to Melissa if she's still there. Is there anyone I've forgotten?
Me, Debbie.
Oh, sorry, Debbie. I've got you here. I've got you ticked off. I'm so sorry. Debbie, do you have anything you'd like to ask?
I do. We've just had training on disaster recovery, that if we ever have a flood, and I'm sorry because I know you in Queensland, there's a few that have, and in Australia, flood or any disaster, fire included, all staff here in their job description has that we have to help with civil defence. So my heart is torn between what do people suggest, that if there ever was a disaster, people come first, but to what point and when do you get in to make sure the vital records and archives are okay? Because family and people do come first, and I have got staff who have kids, children, some that live a long way from our office. I don't expect them to try and get here. Any suggestions? Like what do you do? What's your policy and procedures for prioritising?
Anyone able to offer some suggestions? We've all gone quiet on that one, Debbie.
Yeah.
So,
no, that's okay.
Are you, so you said family come first, and so what do you expect of people to come in and do that?
Well, what they're saying, what my team has said after the training is that pretty much the archives are just going to have to sit there until we can get to it. So with water, it's 70 hours, isn't it, before mould grows. So I have no family, it's just me and the dog as such, dog and cat. So I could be here in my gumboots doing what I have to do, but then my other job description says I've got to be out there helping the people. So obviously it's different rules, I guess.
Yeah, we wouldn't be allowed back in until it was all safe. It wouldn't matter how long the records, like if it was flooded or whatever, they wouldn't expect us to come in for physical records, I don't think. No, not.
Yeah.
But it's also flooding out in our particular area. We're probably more likely to have a fire or something, but yeah. I understand the flu anyway.
But I think that it's probably more on your storage in flood areas, because out here without the flood, you've still got them rodent-proof and fire-proof and etc. So I imagine if you were in a high flood at risk area, you'd just try and make sure they were stored higher or whatever to...
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering. No, that's okay.
Avoid that option? Or
Yeah.
you're more
My other
sensitive
question.
to what's on the high shelves?
Yeah. My other quick question was about insurance of records and archives. Does anyone insure or have a value, or have someone organise what the value of their records and archives is for insurance purposes?
No, that's
In
not
New
something.
Zealand, not many do in New Zealand.
No.
No, I wouldn't think so. Well, not Cloncurry.
No.
Yeah. Okay, hard question. Thank you anyway.
No worries.
No worries. Anybody else would like to speak? I know John would be busting to want to speak, but unfortunately he's still obviously not been able to join in.
Too busy enjoying his holiday. Good on him.
No, I think he's actually trying to get his computer to work so he could be in the meeting. He's facilitated it, but he just can't join in.
Oh.
Anybody got anything else that they'd like to discuss? Any issues with MAGIQ that we haven't already covered?
No, nothing on this. I think Janine.
We're all very quiet today.
Yes.
Yes, I do have another question.
Oh, good, Debbie.
Hello. Training. We are about to roll out for all staff refresher training of all different things, information management, record management, as well as using MAGIQ documents. Is there anyone out there who is willing to share if they have refresher trainings, mainly record management? I know our rules are different in New Zealand. They reckon for training you only retain a tiny amount of what you learn. So I don't want any sessions to be more than an hour, but it's getting those top subjects that would help engage the staff to actually want to be there, because it's going to be mandatory, I'm hoping. Because staff are hopeless here with record management and having their own filing systems and not putting things into MAGIQ. And does anyone have any refresher trainings that they could share?
We did a lot of in-house here at Bulu, but I found we did a standard basic training and then more advanced for people that were using it, but there was a lot of staff that, particularly outdoor staff, that might need to register emails but don't need to know a lot, and their IT level, their skill is limited, and you could see that you just lost them or overrode them. So I found that you just had to really put your groups in and limit your training that way. So our boys down at the depot that were just looking at emailing people backwards and forwards, but basically working out on camp, and might have a spreadsheet or something occasionally that they needed to put in, or a quarry, something to do with quarries. You just, spend the time to focus on the features they're going to use, because if you sit them in for an hour teaching them a lot of stuff that they're never going to need, they go away, like you said, they don't retain much of it, and then they're just overloaded. And because, so I've gone to grouping them, like picking your groups or doing your training based on what features they're going to use, rather than trying to do a basic training on everything for people who don't need it.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, the other thing is that, do you guys do information audits or surveys, like looking at people's desk spaces to figure out where they have information, and whether, and guiding them in a way that says to them they really need to digitise the information, or it shouldn't be around their desks if it's an original, important, signed contract or something like that. Have you ever done that sort of, I'm saying the word promotion because I don't want to tell them they have to do it, because then I know they probably won't.
So is this, are you going to someone's physical desk and sitting down with them and looking at what they have on their desk? Is that the sort of that sort of activity?
Yes, management team are going to approve this for the bestest intentions, that we've had people move offices and they either take it with them, and we just want to try and get clear desks, what's the word for it? Empty desks, like just simplify people's workspaces. And best process, efficient process, and make sure everything's where it should be.
That's really interesting, because I still get documents from 2014 or 2013 that have just been sitting on people's desks for like 5 or 6 years. That's interesting concept. I think I'd like to. I could probably come up with something, sit down with a few people and bring that to their attention. You know, I think that's a good idea.
Yeah. Here in New Zealand, we have got paperwork. It's like a local government group, and it's called an information survey or audit. And so there is actually a checklist that is done. But I just find staff, they're not going to like it. So even though I've got all the stuff, I just don't know in theory how to put it in place and then make them, I'm going to go see them, they'll clear their desk, and it's keeping that habit to keep it clean. So obviously not many people do that then.
No, and I think if you find the magic trick to making it work, let us all know.
Oh, lots of chocolate.
We are putting a scanner down there so that the admin staff down there can start to scan in people's documents, but it's also getting people away down there. They like to keep their hard copy files because they're working on projects or roads or this, funding, and they like having their hard copy files with them. So even after they scan them, it's going to be encouraging them to not keep copies. We have our digitisation, and they don't need to keep everything if they've got it in the system.
With our digitalisation policy now, we've got a 3 month on hard copies. So once it's digitalised, it can be disposed of after 3 months, unless it's a permanent record or a legal obligation. But yeah, getting people to dispose of that paperwork is a challenge, because you do have people that are just naturally paper people.
Yeah.
The worst thing we did was in 2007, we went to a new document management system and we stopped filing onto CODA files, because we did have a proper physical filing number structure. We stopped in 2007, and I think it's the worst thing we ever did, because now they have their own filing system.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, well, thank you.
I think it's an issue for all of us. Debbie, it's not unique to New Zealand.
No.
Melissa.
Sorry, Debbie, with your training before, your staff training, I did my training in PowerPoint, my in-house training with PowerPoint presentations, and then I did, print screens and little guides. So at the training, because we use the connectors, I just did then a quick, step-by-step thing, so that after training, we did our training with computers here, so everyone worked hands-on, logged on as themselves, and I had the big screen, and then they took the booklet with them, and yeah, most of them said they found that helpful to have something as a quick reference, because after you do it, if you don't use it quick enough, it does seem to fade away, but if you've got that bit of note put to prompt it. So if you want to have a look, I'm happy to share some of them with you, just as a bit of an idea.
Yes, please. What's your name? Which council?
Jackie at Bulu.
Okay, thank you.
Tiffany said she has your email, so. can flick them over
Great.
anyway.
Cool.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay, well, it's just about time to wrap up. Does anyone have anything that they would like to say before we end for today?
No, not from Bulu.
No, all good?
Yeah.
No, I think nothing really from us, Janine,
Yep.
other than obviously if we can get even a draft agenda for
Yes.
October,
Definitely.
we need to attach that to our attendance request. They want to see the agenda with it, so I can't even look at submitting one until I get that. So that would be wonderful.
No, we're planning on that because I realise you can't, being records officers, we don't have that magic, what I need is what I get, so we have to fight for everything. So, just with John on holidays this week, we haven't had a chance to finalise it, but I'm hoping that sometime next week, and John's probably pulling his hair out now, listening, I hope we can get the draft, at least the draft out. If there's only a little bit of fine tuning to do till it'll be set, and then we can start to, as long as we get enough interest, we'll be able to pull it off. So here's hoping.
That's fine, Janine.
Yeah, not a problem. I'll do that. And yeah, you wouldn't be alone with that one, Christy. So, okay, thank you for everyone for joining today. We have had a few little starting technical issues. Our next meeting is possibly going to be at Forum. So, and then we'll have our final meeting in December as a wrap up before we all go on Christmas leave. So until we talk again, I'll keep us updated with any information that's happening within the group. And if he's got any questions or you need some help with anything, just flick an email out to any of us. I'm sure we're all keen to help everyone out wherever we can. So thank you, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.